Hello, my name's Paul Savage and welcome to Graphic Discussion. This week we're looking at the issues of female readership and also how comics are moving forward into the future. Hello, today we are joined by writer Paul Cornell, who has written for Doctor Who along with Action Comics and is currently writing Stormwatch and Demon Knights for DC. Artist Kev Hopgood is also with us. He's the co-creator of the character War Machine, recently appearing in Iron Man 2. He's currently drawing for children's illustrations. Now, we've been out and about on the streets of London discussing women in comics, also with the editor of Comics magazine 2000 AD. Here's what they had to say.
There's a lot of issues around sexism in comic books. I am uncomfortable sometimes with some of the images I see in comic books, and I don't think they always show women in the best light.
You had like Dennis, you had Roger and all of that lot, and then you had like one...
Well, you really got Superwoman and Catwoman, and they're not really very good, are they?
I don't know.
It's very easy to look at the output of superhero comics and to brand it sexist. At the same time as that, you also get very intelligently written and drawn comic books that don't necessarily have a problem with sexism.
So you saw some of the issues that were represented there by some of the women. Do you think, Paul, that it's a barrier to new readers, the way the women are represented?
Yes, I do. I think that there is very much a problem with female representation in the comics industry, both in terms of the way we draw women and the way we write women, and about the number of women behind the scenes working on comics. Having said that, it's not all negative. There are a lot of positives to be drawn out there. But I think this issue of representation stops the mainstream of women readers from coming into us, and thus the positive examples don't always get out there to the world.
Okay, so Kevin, you've been writing for, you've been drawing and illustrating on quite a lot of major titles. Did you ever have a specific way that you were told to draw? Were you ever told to make it look more female?
Well, yeah. It was, I was working on Iron Man. I got a request one day. Well, we want more TNA, Kev. Which is, I won't spell it out for you, but it's a certain way of drawing a female figure, yeah, which I wasn't particularly happy with. But it's part of the course, I think, for superhero comics. Yeah.
Now, do you think that? Okay, we've also been out and about discussing the rising digital revolution in comics. Now, we're going to take a quick look at this piece for that.
We are in a massively changing industry, where just within the last few months, all of a sudden, all the big animals have started sort of running after one another. DC went day and date digital for the first time earlier this year. Marvel has started going day and date digital. Dark Horse, I believe, are doing it as well. So I think they were all waiting for somebody to make the break.
Okay, so we saw in the piece there a lot about digital comics. This is Walking Dead, and we've got this on the iPad. So you can see there, obviously, the front cover, and then just with a finger across, you can get to the next page. And then with a tap, you can see the full page layout, and then you can tap it again, zoom in on a specific panel. Now, Kevin, as an artist yourself, how do you think that this is going to change the way that you draw for comics?
Well, this is the first time I've actually looked at an iPad comic, really. I mean, we've just got an iPad for Christmas. I've not looked at comics yet. But you're going to have to put a lot more detail in the panels, I think, because you're going to be under greater scrutiny. You can't just sort of like have a wacky layout. But it is I find it really fascinating,
Yeah, do you think it's going to spark a load of creativity within the artist?
Well, I hope so, because
it's a new medium to play with.
Yeah, exactly, because anyone will be able to put something on an iPad. I don't think it's very expensive, so I think it will hopefully be a shot in the arm for the independents as well as for the major comic companies. Okay,
Paul, I'm going to come to you now. Now, with the data, with them being able to be downloaded and on the first day that it comes out, do you think that's going to change the way that when they get the feedback from each individual issue and how much each individual sold and been downloaded, do you think that's going to the way the comics are being written for the demographic?
I think so. I mean, comics writers have always been very much aware of the audience, and now we get audience reaction at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday night. when digital download happens. And that's it's a water cooler moment for comics.
Yeah. Is there a problem there that you might start writing just specifically for the loudest voices on the internet, though?
That's always been a problem, and well, ever since the invention of the internet. And it's more a question of taking that on board and not necessarily responding positively or directly to it, but surprising that voice.
Yeah. So have you managed, with the work you're currently doing on Demon Knights and Stormwatch, yours are in digital format. Have you found that that's getting through to a new market of new different sort of people, a new readership?
I think to some degree it's getting us back into the mainstream, and that's very welcome. The art looks fabulous on digital.
Yeah, it really does look fantastic. One of the great things is because no one has to see what you're reading. Someone who may be embarrassed, who likes a comic, but what is a little bit embarrassed, can stick, I don't know, Dostoevsky on the outside of your iPad, your Kindle, but on the inside he's actually reading a comic. Do you think that's a positive move for the industry?
Well, it's done very well for Mills and Boon, and who are a huge beneficiary from the digital revolution. And yeah, I think the same can be true of comics.
Yeah, so if a lot less people are getting embarrassed about reading comics, do you think that the digital revolution in comics will actually be a force for good in the industry?
Oh, absolutely.
And would you say the same thing, Kevin?
Well, I'm hoping the content will be more grown up as well. You know, not in a dry or boring way, but just less superheroes.
Yeah. So you think that maybe if there might be something where it says like a link to, if you liked this artist's work, he also worked on. Say, for instance, if they liked your work on War Machine, they can also go and see your other scholarly work or your
my scholarly treatise.
Yes, but they can go and check out
exactly.
some interesting stuff that you've done on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good point. Excellent. Well, that's a really interesting way of looking at these things. So, what do you think the future will be for comics? Where do you think the industry will be in 5 years' time?
In 5 years, I think much more digitised. Hopefully out of the comic shops to some degree.
It's been a bit of a ghetto, the comic shop.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem is that you're relying on individual independent comic book shops, which are sometimes can be a difficult place to walk into as a new person. And what, you don't know this, you don't know that. It can, I imagine it can be quite a scary thing.
Well, there's no other medium that requires a special shop that isn't in every town.
There is one.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's all we've got time for. I'll just stop you there. But thanks very much to my panel, Paul Cornell and Kevin Hopgood. Do check out Demon Knights and Stormwatch, which are currently available in shops. Thanks very much. Good night. Yeah, so it looks like we're chatting amongst us.
Well,
We can pretend to do the talky bits. You're a smelly pirate.